Hello everybody, welcome back to my home here in East Tennessee. I thought I would do a Tolumnia care tutorial today. I've had several of you request more information about my Tolumnias, and the one that you see here is my beautiful Tolumnia Gyric Flyer Sahara. I love the colors of this little Tolumnia. I love all of my Tolumnias. This has become like a real passion in my orchid growing. I have 25 of them now. I don't know how I got 25 of them, but I do love them all. And I thought, let's just go ahead and have kind of a forum video. For those of you who grow these, I would love to hear from you, your experiences with your Tolumnias. I grow the hybrids. I don't grow the species. I love the hybrid Tolumnias. They have so many different colors, patterns, and as you all know, I love color. So let's talk about the Tolumnias that I have that are hybrids today. And here you see some of my Tolumnias. I grow them in different parts of the house to see where they do best. I've been growing these for almost 2 years. And so I like to have some of them under different types of light to see if they do better one group over the other. And I've kind of noticed that really, no matter where I put these, they seem to be pretty happy as long as they get plenty of light, like Cattleya type of light. That's what several of the nurseries that I bought mine from recommended, and that has really held true. So this week I've been reading care articles on Tolumnias, and I really appreciate care articles. They give you a basic idea about the care of these little orchids, and some of the articles are helpful. I might glean an idea or two that's helpful to me, but I believe that the Tolumnia care guides are more geared towards the Tolumnia species and not the hybrids. And of course, I only grow the hybrids, and their care is a little bit different. So the hybrids aren't as picky as the species. If you have a species Tolumnia, then you need to Google the information for that specific species and go by that particular species of Tolumnia. But these are hybrids, and I've noticed that even in the hybrids, some of them like a little bit more water than others. Some of them are just thirstier than others. So you have to keep an eye on them, but they're not hard. As a matter of fact, I have found these very rewarding to grow. They like to not dry out. That's the number one thing about the hybrids. You don't want them to dry out. Last summer, I allowed this little guy right here to dry out on me. And boy, did he ever pout. So what I did was, he's in a very small little 1.5 inch pot. So what I did is I placed him on a wick. And he gets constant moisture all the time, and he's completely rebounded. And he's got a new growth there on the left. I'm so glad. All of this was puckered. I mean, all of the leaves that you see here were puckered, and do you see how they have completely rebounded? I'm so glad I did not lose that little Tolumnia. So you're probably asking right now, how do you know the difference between a species Tolumnia and a hybrid Tolumnia? Because it is very important for you to know. If your ID tag says something like this, Tolumnia variegata, okay, do you see how the variegata is in a small font? Okay, that means it's a species. That means it has very, very specific care. If you've got a hybrid, it's going to read something like this. Tolumnia gyric firm, quail eggs. This is a hybrid. If it says, let's see, gyric flyer, the gyric firms, the gyric flyers, there's a gyric rainbow. This is what the hybrid Tolumnia labels should read. And let's talk about light. I have these Tolumnias growing in a western facing window, and they're also under LED lights. So you can see they get a lot of light here. Now, if this window gets too hot in the fall or in the spring, I might shade it a little bit, but I've noticed they like quite a bit of light. The species come from around the equator, so they like a lot of light. These grow under these halo lights 12 hours a day, all year long. I don't pull back on the amount of light they receive in the winter, and they do great. All the nurseries that I've bought my Tolumnias from, they say the same thing, bright Cattleya light. And I've already talked a little bit about watering, but just again, they don't like to dry out. They don't like to dry out like a Cattleya does. You know how with a Cattleya, they like to be dry a little bit between waterings. These don't. If you let these dry out, they will pucker and they will pout. And it's taken a full year for this little guy right here that I was talking to you about before. It took a full year for this one to rebound. He was mad at me. I just didn't water him enough. I've also noticed that the smaller ones, they seem to take in more water. They really don't like to dry out. This one I placed on a wick about 8 months ago, and look at the new growth. Plus, I don't have to worry about watering this one every other day because it's in just a little tiny 1-inch pot. And so if you have really small ones, I've noticed they like almost a constant source of water, like a wick. Let me show you the type of yarn that I use. And this is the type of yarn that I use for my wicks, whether it's on my Tolumnias or my African violets. I use 100% acrylic yarn. And this keeps you from having to water your little tiny Tolumnias every second or third day. It's very hard to keep up with it. That's what got my little Tolumnia in trouble. I just forgot him too long. He didn't like it, but he's doing better now. And let's go over fertilizer because that's very important for these little guys. What I do, I use MSU fertilizer, and in the spring and summer, they get about 250 parts per million of MSU. I decrease that in the fall and the winter to about 200 parts per million. That's about 1/3 the recommended dosage of MSU fertilizer. I was fertilizing every other watering, and I'm getting some brown leaves, which means they're not getting quite enough. So I decided to go ahead and do what MSU recommends. I fertilize them 3 times in a row, and then the next time I just water them with reverse osmosis water. So these get watered in my environment about every 5 days in the summer. Now this is dependent on the humidity in your grow space. I don't use a humidifier. So when my air conditioning cuts on, when my heat cuts on in the winter, I really check to make sure that they don't need it before then. See how these are so small. They need almost a constant source of water. But do you see, some of them can get very large. This is in a 4-inch orchid pot. I mean, that's a large Tolumnia. He's huge. I might go 7 days. What I do, I lift the pot. When it starts getting lightweight, that's when I know that it needs to be watered. So you can't really go by my watering schedule. Just lift your pots often, especially if you go through seasonal changes like I do. Make sure that you're not overwatering, but don't underwater either. And I have found that the temperatures that these grow best in are between 70 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. That is 21 to 27 degrees Celsius. I tried to grow them in my sunroom last summer and it got too hot. If it gets above 80 degrees, you just have to water them too much and they start kind of pouting. So more room temperature is what they prefer. And if you're new to Tolumnias and you'd like to see me repot one of these have very specific repotting needs because they come to you bare rooted from the nursery. I have a video that I'll put in the description box below where you can watch me repot one of these. All these Tolumnias are growing in New Zealand spag moss topped with orchiata bark from my sponsor, the Orchid Supply Store. And don't forget, when you order from the Orchid Supply Store, to use my coupon code AMY for a 12% viewers discount, and you also get free shipping in the United States. So I think I covered everything. If I missed something or if you have a question, just feel free to leave me a question in the comment section below. I love reading through my comment section. You all are my orchid family, and I appreciate all of you so much. And before I end this video, I would love to say the blessing over you, your plants, and your families. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace. You all make it a great day, and we'll talk to you next time.